Good afternoon and welcome to the Lady Political Power Global Leadership Conference as we talk about women, politics and power, the barriers to participation and leadership. Welcome to day 2 of the conference. And wow, wasn't day 1 absolutely amazing? We had amazing keynote speakers that actually just spoke about every single problem that we have when it comes to barriers in politics, because women are underrepresented in parliaments and cabinets, and that's what we're talking about today. And so today I welcome you to the second day, and we have an exciting lineup of speakers today, and we also have phenomenal moderators. Our moderator for the first session today is Sarah Blake. Sarah, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me, and it's such a privilege to be moderating this session.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you, Sarah. Sarah has been a previous speaker, and I tell you, we're in for a treat with Sarah moderating today.
I'm going to keep you all on your toes, but more importantly, this is about uplifting all of our speakers and helping them shine for all of you.
Thank you, Sarah. And we anticipate that as well. So what happened yesterday was that we had our keynote speakers open up the conference, and today we have our panelists that will continue to share on the topic, women, politics and power, the barriers to participation and leadership. So I'll hand over the program to Sarah, and Sarah, the platform is yours.
Thank you very much. We're going to launch straight into it. And our first speaker today is Sharmin Smith. Sharmin describes herself as a military brat and spouse, author, speaker, aspiring politician. She was born in the projects and today lives in a mansion. She has a story to tell, but today she's going to reflect on running for politics. She's going to talk about her 2020 candidate for presidential elections and some insights for you all. Sharmin, I can't wait to hear what you have to say. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. My name is Sharmin Smith. I've been invited to speak with you today at the Lady Political Global Leadership Conference because I ran for President of the United States of America in 2020. I'd like to thank Hazel Herrington at Herrington Publications Worldwide and Coach Erika Love for connecting us and giving me the opportunity to share my story. Where better is there a place than a global leadership conference about women, politics and power, where the focus is barriers to participation and leadership, to share my story, some tips and dirty tricks that taught me invaluable lessons that may benefit you as you pursue your ambitions. What started out for me as a fictional life story turned into a protest write-in campaign, and then a full-blown smear campaign created by opposition research that I hired and paid for myself. My path has been unique, and I hope to share with you suggestions and warnings, but above all, the importance of keeping your sense of humor. You'll need it. If you're here, you're most likely following a call that comes from your heart, and your head is trying to talk you out of it. It's failing, but it's still trying. You're smart. You know running for office is an uphill battle, and you will probably fail, but you want to do it anyways. You can't shut that voice up no matter how hard you try. There is no amount of weed, wine, or whiskey that will drown it out. Trust me, I tried. I'm willing to bet that your fear does not lie in creating policy about healthcare or gun rights. It's the reality that World War III could break out on your block and be just as scary as Putin's invasion of Ukraine. As the reality of war looms over us, we may all be looking around our communities and assessing who is on what side. I had no clue who I was hiring in June of 2018 when I set out on my impossible mission to run for president. I was grateful for a company that crossed my path with the purpose of teaching you how to give interviews, get on podcasts, radio, and TV, plus monetize my content. What more could an aspiring politician ask for? It never occurred to me that this marketing dream come true would pitch me to one of Trump's senior campaign advisors. They knew Trump was my competition. Why would they compromise me like that? Not knowing what QAnon was in August of 18, it was laughable that little old me would be important enough for Trump to pay attention to. So when the marketing team dropped an answered prayer in my lap, I didn't consider her to be dangerous. I just said, thank you, Lord. I know you're worried about gotcha questions, and you'll have to get good at getting out of getting got. Getting got is one thing when it's a foreign policy question. It's another when it's an extortion attempt by your campaign manager. She was a Gen X tech guru who had worked for the Democratic National Convention in 16, the Super Bowl in 18. She immediately told me about a childhood sexual assault where she had been kidnapped for 4 days in North Philadelphia. So a presidential candidate who was open about being an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse, with my #1 campaign issue as a death penalty for pedophiles, she assured me she was my biggest supporter. May I suggest researching narcissistic abuse patterns with a focus on love bombing, trauma bonding, reactive abuse, projection, and the hive mind? Emotional abuse can be used in many ways, and people will bait you into conflict for the purpose of discrediting you and having something to hold over you. Your emotions will be used against you by both men and women. They'll be quick to call you crazy, and you should familiarize yourself with the Martha Mitchell effect. I smile when I tell them all women are crazy, and this is my brand of crazy. Robin Williams said, "We're only given a little spark of madness in us. So what if this is mine?" The day after that marketing team pitched me to Trump, they pitched me to Elisa Jordana from the Howard Stern show. In February 21, right after the insurrection, Elisa invited me to be on her podcast, if I was brave enough. It's a variety show out of Hollywood that brings together all walks of life under the guise of being a church and a new religion based on the love of her dog Kermit, who died during the COVID lockdowns. The kind of church where Andy Dick is an ordained minister and all are welcome. Atheists, Jews, Muslims, Christians, Catholics, and spiritual people come together once a week to laugh and fight in the good-hearted spirit of trolling. Was there a better place for a failed presidential candidate to share her story of accidentally feeding the QAnon beast in hopes of undoing some of the damage she didn't intend to cause? I think not. I confessed my sins to Pope Elisa in hopes the congregation would embrace me and I could do whatever possible to expose QAnon-sense. I've been there every Sunday ever since, and you can binge hours of content of Kermit and Friends on YouTube or see me live Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time in the US. Don't miss the KAF wrap-up show directly after. I'm Wheezy's co-host. It took 8 months before I fully opened up about my campaign manager, and Zarina was on the show within weeks. Watch the Anonymous Woman episode where she admitted she had never been raped. That was the moment I realized all of her stories were lies. She shamed my mental health and tried to spin the story, but I brought receipts, text messages, emails, police reports, contracts. I have it all. I felt confident the Kermitarians would support me. KAF Discord is a major part of that. If you're looking for a place to thicken your skin, this is where I've been. Where else will you meet the guy that claims responsibility for the Clinton kill list? You know, the guy that created the list of people Hillary Clinton had killed throughout her career? Getting to know that guy gave me greater appreciation for Hillary and the trolling she's endured through her years. His tips to terrorize get a whole chapter in my next book. There is more than one way to drain you. It's not just your cash, your credit, your reputation, your dignity, or your desire to help others that will be drained. It's easy for me to look back on my story and point to countless times I could have stopped. I tried in 2019, but Z wouldn't let me. And the events of 2020 that took place that tied to me personally were too big to ignore. Where did all that QAnon stuff go? The RNC in Jacksonville? White Oleander curing COVID? The Rose Garden, restarting federal executions, Kenosha, all of that looked to me like dirty tricks designed to draw out a viable third-party candidate to split the vote. The price of participation in politics is steeper than you think. What starts out as a joke doesn't look funny when you're standing in the middle of a town you call home, and people are calling it. Participation is unknown by the masses, but I believe my story holds key to unlocking the coded message that tricked so many of our friends, family, and fellow citizens into believing lies designed to jumpstart this war. You're welcome to buy a copy of my book that started it all, Taming the Titta. I self-published 6 months before Trump announced his campaign, and any similarities to actual events were unplanned by me. I wrote this book with the honest belief that it would unite and heal our nation, and there's no better time for that to happen than now. The US and the world deserve better than it got in 2020, and I apologize for my part in that. Hindsight being 2020, my story is a lot scarier now as I watch Putin's plan unfold. It's not brave if you're not scared. And this is the home of the free because of the brave. Let this be a moment that unites us. It's one thing to own my mistakes and apologize. It's another to clean up my mess. As sorry as I am, I can't clean this up alone, and I'm grateful for every chance I have to share my truth and people who are willing to give truth a chance. You can find me on most social media platforms under Sharmin Smith or Taming a Titta. My website is sharminsmith.com. You can Google Sharmin Smith and President and find plenty of information and interviews on me, good and bad. I'm not perfect. I'm working on 2 books right now, one inspired by this speech, Ms. Please, Lessons Learned from the Campaign Trail of a Female Presidential Hopeful, and A Midsummer's Nightmare, my personal perspective of some of the events of 2020. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sharmin's Web of Truth and Lies, where you can get a glimpse into my most recent extortion attempt. I've got a gang of goons causing me problems. It's taken me a long time to get here, and I'm not going anywhere. When the time comes that you do see my name on a ballot, I hope you'll be sure to put your check next to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know I have so many questions that I would love to delve into with you, but we have limited time, right? So I've got one, and then Hazel has one as well. My question for you is, have you got a tip for other women aspiring for leadership or political positions around how do they surround themselves with the right people?
That's a really good question, but the following the narcissistic tips, because people will try to get close to you and you do need to be careful. And the lesson that I've learned is no second chances. As soon as there's a problem, cut them loose.
Thank you. I like that it's so simple in a way. It's complex, but let's get down to the basics. Hazel, you've got a really great question as well.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Sharmin, wow. I love your story, and I mean, this story will continue way after this conference. My question is, what does trust mean in politics? And should women really be worried about their reputation when they're running for office? Because what you've just explained to us is that when you go into politics, you have to be alert and you have to be in a position to ruin even your own reputation. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you need to be prepared to be falsely accused of every bad thing in the book. I've been accused of being a pedophile, of plagiarizing my book, of everything you could possibly imagine. I've had threats of violence. You know, the thing is that once you get this calling, once you know this is where you're meant to be, nothing is going to stop you. So as long as you know their lies, you just have to keep pushing through.
Yeah. But what does trust mean in politics?
Trust is subjective to each person, and trust has been lost by our elected officials. And there are so many gamesmanship taking place at this point in time where dirty games are done to destroy each other. You have to have trust in yourself, and you need to build a team around you that you can trust too.
Fantastic. I love what Leeza says. Leeza says, trust yourself. You're right about that, Leeza. Thank you, Sarah. Continue.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Listen, what I'm hearing from that are a couple of key points around building a really solid team around you, trusting yourself, and that caring for self is a big part of that, having tough skin, but also looking after your mental well-being. This is a tough gig, stepping up. So thank you for sharing your tips, and I hope that this gives others confidence. Well, thank you for that presentation. I know you want to keep talking and hearing that story. We're going to move on to the next person though, but if you do want to keep talking to Sharmin, make sure you connect with her. Our next fabulous speaker is Dr. Remi Duyile. She's president, Image Consulting Group. She's candidate currently for the delegate district of 23. You have a story to share and an inspiration for other women. I can't wait to hear what you have to say, Remi. Please, the floor is yours.
Great, good day, good evening, good morning, wherever we all are, and great thanks to my sister, Hazel Herrington, and the Herrington Publications Worldwide for putting up such an impeccable conference, bringing women together, especially today. Happy International Women's Day. It's still the 8th here in America. Happy International Women's Day to all of my great sisters who are on the call and who will join at some future time. Yes, I am here. I am currently living the life that I'm about to talk about. And like my previous speaker said, when you know you have the bug in you to lead, to serve in whatever capacity, there's nothing that will stop you. And of course, no matter what, like Maya Angelou says, still we rise. I don't want to take time to read the poem, but there's a poem that I will paraphrase, that no matter how things are, you just know that you're going to rise. And when you have that conviction that you will rise, you start strong. You start with trusted community. And the community you start with doesn't begin when you're getting ready to run, by the way. It starts like right now. Everything that we're doing is a sum total of where we are and where we are going. So this evening, my assignment briefly before you within the next 7 minutes, I'm sure I've spent a minute already, is to talk about women, politics, and power. Women, we know us, we know us. We are a special breed of people. This morning, I had the privilege of having a show that really touched a lot of people to really know that we women, we can do all things. There's absolutely nothing that we cannot do. And we have the power. There's just this instinct in us, regardless of who we are and where we are. We're wired to do greatness, to do exploits. At the same token, the society does not embrace it right away. The society wants to box us. Yes, society, create your box. Put yourself in it. You don't need to put women in it. You can create a box. Absolutely. So this evening, this morning, this day, as women, we've got to know the power we carry. Are we going to have all the power that we need to do what we need to do? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Can we acquire the power? Can we create opportunities to ensure that we have those powers ready for such a time as this for me that I'm running currently as a delegate in my district, in my state, in the United States of America? It didn't start overnight. Like I said, it starts as a journey. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. That one step for us women has to be built with trusted community, with trusted people, with us being able to identify, who are we? Who am I? What's giving you the boldness, the audacity to say, you know what? I want to raise my hand and serve in another capacity. Guess what? Service is ongoing. And when you raise your hand to do different layers of service, you're going to have oppositions, absolutely. Because people are going to want to tell you who you are, like they created you. They're going to tell you where do you belong, but you've got to know who you are and whose you are. And the only way you can do that is constantly being in spaces like this, where you can be nurtured, and also where you can have other sisters, other community that can value your value. When your value is valued, the best will be brought out of you. And that helps you to create that strength that we need as women, that strength that we need as people, whether we're a leader in the classroom, whether we're a leader in the public space, whether we're a leader in our homes, we lead. Bottom line, end of sentence. We lead all the time. And the same tenacity of leadership that we bring to everything is what we should bring all the time. I'm going somewhere this afternoon, this evening, this day with all of us, as ladies, as women who have been raised sometimes by a 2-family household, sometimes by one. One thing for sure is our fathers play a great and significant role in our lives. And I'll tell you a story. My father's story sticks to me all the time. When I walk into a room with so-called powerful people, don't ask me how we define power, but when I walk into a room, I automatically know I have earned the right to be there. And that was instilled in me as a child, because I had a father who gave me nothing but love, who left everything and supported everything I needed to do. I only enjoyed him for a few early part of my years, but the years were very significant. My infancy, my nursery school, where he would stop everything and come and be the one that will pick me up at school, will be the one that will be there when my hair was being done, that will be there, that does make sure that what a woman can do, he instilled in us, a man can do, and he gave everybody the best. That's the power. So if you're hearing us, men that will hear later, the seed you sow in your children right now, it's going to define how strong a woman they will be. The womanhood we enjoy right now is not just beginning now. It started with seeds of greatness, and those seeds of greatness are germinating every day. For me, it germinated. I migrated to the United States of America. I won't bore you with my story because that's not the topic this evening, but I will bore you that I'm running for office. Running for office is a bold step, to step out and say, you know what, I can serve better. I can do something better. And will people want to box you? Of course. But do you have your network? The network you have is important. And as women, collaboration is very key to us. Collaboration, working together, knowing that our greatness, our successes can be collective. Your success doesn't stop mine. Hazel giving us a platform here to communicate, to speak to the world, doesn't stop her shine. If you ask me, it should increase her shine, because that shows the magnanimity of her heart to wanting to be good and do good by women. And as of someone that's running currently, I know every day is a new day. Every day is a new set of challenges, and the challenges are there. As women, some of us are women running and we have families. You have to do the work-life balance, because nothing is more important than your family. How do you balance it to ensure that you do not give away what is important in exchange for something that's temporary? Because a position is temporary, right? Your family will forever be there. So you don't want to miss it. How do you get those priorities in order? How do you carry those who matter along with you? Those who matter have to be carried along with you. So that way, when you have those dull moments, those tired moments where you're just trying to get everything done and nobody is stepping up, you know right there that you have nothing but yourself and God. So trust is very critical, and you've got to trust yourself. I see that hand up. You've got to trust yourself. And as I close, I want to let everyone that will hear this know that we matter. Women matter. We rule the world. We are the creator of all lives. We bring to life anyone, name who is not born by a woman. That power that we carry, we should wear it like a badge. Thank you so very much, Hazel, for this platform. I appreciate this, and I'll take questions if I still have a minute or two.
You absolutely have a minute or two, and we're going to throw in a couple of questions. I can feel the energy from both of those talks we've had today, and I'm feeling excited by it. So thank you for sharing so much of yourself today. I've got a question around what helps you hold those things that are most important to you at the forefront of what you do, so you don't get swept up in all those pressures. What helps you hold that?
Thank you. For me, what helps me is carrying those who matter in whatever I'm doing at the forefront, letting them know what I'm thinking, getting their buy-in. So when we go in case anything happens, we're going in together. Like, I have a resounding support of my husband, but we do have a conversation and say that this is the way we're going. And that support has to be gotten on the front end, not on the back end. And when you get it on the front end, it makes the journey smooth. Yes, sometimes you won't get it on the front end because people might not see your vision. But when you don't get it on the front end, you've got to figure a way to get it so that you can balance. One mistake we can make is to go desperately for something that's temporary and lose what is permanent and what is life-changing, what is legacy. That should never be an option as women or as people, period.
Thank you so much for that. Hazel, you've got a question as well.
Thank you, Dr. Remi. Wow, bold and courageous. That is what one message we got in the chat. And it's definitely a powerful, powerful speech that you've just spoken about. My question is, Dr. Remi, yesterday we were talking about barriers, and we talked about structural barriers in terms of the lack of financial resources for female candidates. The reality is that you need funding. You need finances for your campaign. How are you doing with your campaign? How difficult is it to get finances for your campaign?
Again, I want to say that for the first filing, our campaign led every filer. For a first-time runner, we raised the most money. It's on record, it's public records. And I say that with all glory to God, but to also underscore the power of relationship. just jumping out and say, I want to run for office, is not the process. There are antecedents of what you would have been doing and the relationship you would have created, whether be it in my Bank of America days, in my serial entrepreneurial days. I take relationship very seriously. I don't get into all relationships, but the ones that are serious, they know I'm serious, they put their money where their mouth is. So it's tough. People don't part with their coins. They don't want to. But sometimes you find some generous people who will surprise you when they believe in what you're doing and they see that you believe in yourself and you're working it. People have donated to my campaign, and I know it's tough to get money. And most people who have donated have been relationship from one storyline of my life or the other, not just family, but people who have been acquaintance, who have seen what I've done in the community, who believe in me. But at the onset, it was more of those who knew what I did in the past. I'm sure now there are more people who know I'm here to stay, who are dropping their coins where it belongs. But that's how I would say it's hard to raise money, period. But build good relationship and let people believe in you and the money would come.
Fantastic, fantastic. And the last question is, Linda Fisk yesterday spoke about the protection of female candidates. How safe do you feel when you're running for office?
Sure. I don't believe that being female or male has, again, let me carefully say, depending on where you are in the part of the world, I don't believe that maybe a male or female faces more threats here in America than the other. That's just my opinion. But one thing for sure is you want to be careful wherever you go. I don't go anywhere without letting people know because you don't know what people are thinking. But I don't feel unsafe, but I'm careful. And of course, I'm ensuring that whatever I'm doing, those who matter know where I'm going and what I'm doing. And I never go anywhere alone. But it's not out of fear. It's just out of just protecting yourself and making sure that people know what's going on, because now you're automatically emerging into a public figure. And sometimes people have warped minds on that. So just being safe and not out of fear, but out of just doing the right thing and making sure people know where you are and be able to be accounted for at all times. It's very important.
Yeah, well, I guess when we're addressing this question, let's look at countries like, okay, let's talk about Zimbabwe, let's talk about African countries where candidates go missing. They're beaten up, they're imprisoned. So I guess she was coming from that point of view. What are your thoughts on that?
Right, thank you very much. And I wanted to underscore that for nations where we still have obvious reasons why people feel like females should not reign or do what they need to do, and they will be in arm's way. And what we need to do is let's talk to our leaders right now. We don't know who amongst all these leaders will see it. So Mr. President of wherever nation that was watching this, it's time to stop it. You need the women at the table. The women needs to be at the table. You have given birth to children who are female, and you want to raise them and have them lead in the world. So if you want that, you better stop and support women who are doing what they need to do. It's not easy to run for office. It's a tall order. And when people risk their time and life and they have to worry about safety, Mr. President, Mr. Leader, whoever you are, we need to get together and ensure that we support those who want to make lives a better place. Because you don't go to politics to be rich. You go there to serve. And let's change our mindset for a change. And let's know that when we're going out, we're going there to serve. And let's support our women, because the women, we rock. You just need to support us and ensure that what we are doing is for the good of all. And we need some representation so that the policies, the legislations that are created are good for all. We will think through things more than others. So for our leaders, please embrace the women leadership. That's what's missing. Until we get it right, then we're not going to have the system that we deserve and that we need to enjoy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Remi. This is what I love about this conference. We are free to speak, air our opinions without fear and reservation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Remi. That was so powerful. And I hope people are taking experiences and ideas and inspiration from it. I know I am. I feel like it's a call to all of us here today to really support each other and celebrate that hard task of stepping up into politics. We're going to change gears with our next presenter, Angela Schutz. Thank you for joining us, Angela. Angela's a director. She's an executive coach for Driven to Succeed Consulting. She provides a service that empowers you to discover your ultimate career potential. And I think that's so important for those of you that are wrestling with that service mentality. What is your place? Angela, I can't wait to hear your insights, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And I'd like to thank Hazel Herrington of Herrington Publications Worldwide and Linda Fisk of Leadership Global for inviting me to add my voice to all these amazing voices. And greetings to all you amazing women and men. Thank you for giving me your precious time and your attention. As Sarah said, my name is Angela Schutz. I'm the founder of Driven to Succeed Consulting, a career and life coaching organization. And my goal is to help empower people to move from where they are to where they ultimately want to begin. And before I start, I'd like to set an intention with you and for you that during this conference, you will hear a golden nugget of information from me or another speaker that will make you say, I can do that. And it will motivate you to take action and propel your life forward. It may be something you've heard many times before, or it may be something you've never heard before, but see how you feel and let it move you forward. As Oprah Winfrey once said, your life isn't about a big break. It's about taking one significant life-transforming step after another. I may not have ever met you, but I already know two things about you. I know that everything you need to be a leader, you already have inside you. Oh, you may not have all the facts, but you certainly have the drive and the curiosity it takes to be a leader. I also know that you're already a leader in your own right. How do I know that? I know it because you've already positioned yourself to be here at a conference for global leaders. You are listening and learning and rubbing virtual elbows with some of the most amazing women in the world. Be proud of yourself that you've made this bold step. Women who don't aspire to be leaders aren't here. Oh, they may talk about wanting to up-level their lives, but you're the one that has taken the step to move yourself forward. Leaders, take action. Before you can become an impactful leader, you need to prepare yourself from the inside out. In alignment with the theme of this conference, as we look at the barriers women face that block us from leadership positions, the first place we need to look is within. Have you placed some roadblocks on yourself? You need to have a positive mindset with the belief that you have the power to put your own hand behind your own back and move yourself forward. Here are three things that I think are very important towards success. They're minding your thoughts, increasing your level of self-worth, and celebrating your uniqueness. Let's start with the concept of minding your thoughts. Our thoughts are so powerful. They guide our lives because our thoughts become our beliefs. Our beliefs become our actions, and our actions become our results. Whatever you truly believe in becomes your reality. If deep in your heart, you don't believe you can ever achieve your goals, you're right. Your beliefs color all of your actions. If you believe there are barriers to your success, your actions will never position you to meet and learn from other successful people. You will continue to play small rather than step out into the world and offer the amazing talent you have. Your actions will be based on the belief that you can never be a global leader, and they will then never be in alignment with success. So your results will be the results of believing you can't be successful. Your initial negative belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Be aware of your thoughts, and when you notice they're doubtful or negative, change them. When you look at a successful woman, Don't look at her as if she was handed success on a silver platter. Rather, look at her as a person who took each deliberate step one at a time until she reached her goals, and know that you can do that too. The next step is to up-level your sense of self-worth. Life can present us with challenges at times that seem to be tied to who we are as individuals and bring us down. You get filled with thoughts that you aren't good enough. I didn't get that job because, I didn't get that promotion because, you fill in the negative blanks. In reality, negative situations are not tied to who we are, and it's important not to let them lower your sense of self-worth. Take some time at the end of every day and notice what you did well that day. What did you accomplish? As a matter of fact, make a list of 100 things you like about yourself. If, like me, you were taught not to boast or brag, this will be a very difficult challenge. But you can still be humble and notice the things that are good about you. Your intelligence, your initiative, your creativity, your heart. Unless you feel good about the woman you've become, you will always play small, and you might even fall prey into feeling you are a victim of negative circumstances. Victims stay in the why me mode that lower your sense of self-worth. Freedom is moving out of letting life determine who you are to letting your inner self rule your life. Change from asking why me questions to asking, how can I make this better? It will move you from being the victim to being the victor. It takes time, but you can do it. Look for the good in your life. Savor it. Be grateful for it. Look for the good you do. Appreciate all you do and all you can do. Open yourself up to your own magnificence and continue to open yourself up to more and more magnificence as your sense of self-worth grows. Honor yourself until you can raise your hand and say, I'm ready. The third step is to celebrate your uniqueness. Stop straining your neck to see what other people are wearing or driving or what titles they have or how big their bank account is. Kick jealousy to the curb. With value comes success. Look deep within yourself. You can't be that other person, but you can be your most authentic self. Think about the talents you have and work to develop them. If you were born with a beautiful voice, use it and share it. If you are hardwired to understand technology, learn more skills and share them with those who don't feel they can master it at all. If you are very organized, help someone who's completely out of control and is begging for help. If you were born with the drive and charisma to lead others, take the lead. The point is that your talents are gifts. The gifts you have should be shared with the world. In doing so, you will increase your sense of self-worth and contribute to the self-worth of others more than you will ever know. I love the quote, other people's opinions of you are none of your business. Do what's right, and you will have a better opinion of yourself. And in return, so will others. Step into your skin and appreciate those things that make you unique, because the world needs you right now. There's nothing more beautiful and inspiring than a person who knows and appreciates who they are. Take down any self-imposed barriers. Let your spirit shine and adopt the motto, just do it. Mind your thoughts, increase your sense of self-worth, and delight in your uniqueness. Stay motivated and stay humble. And remember, in the words of Theodore Roosevelt, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. I celebrate all of you and all your success. Thank you, Hazel Herrington, for being the catalyst that initiates global discussions like this one.
Wow. Wow.
I'm just going to breathe.
Just breathe.
Thank you, Angela. I don't know, you probably haven't had a chance to read all the comments from the chat, but you've just brought this calming uplifting energy to this room. If you don't have a coach, you need to connect with Angela, because I just feel so empowered by your capacity to connect with us. So thank you for doing that. I have questions, and I know Hazel does. Hazel, you get to go first this time, and I'm going to wrap up with my questions. So over to you, Hazel.
Wow, Angela, you remind me so much of Brian Tracy. He's a motivational speaker, but you're the female version.
Thank you.
A lot of women that, are going through a lot of pressure, running for office, looking after kids. And, as you spoke, I was like, wow, I got to get Angela a coach for myself. You're amazing. And how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, my website is driventosucceed.net. And there's another one called Boomer Chick's Guide to Online Dating. So you can find me in lots of places. And I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter.
Awesome. I'm going to let Sarah take over with the questions. Thank you so much.
I'm just putting your website on the chat function for everyone that wants to connect with you. So I have a question for you. Well, I have lots, but I'm going to keep it to one. You mentioned right at the beginning about finding that golden nugget and how important it is for us to take that golden nugget and then carry it forward. You've heard a bit this morning. What would be your one golden nugget from today? I'm putting you on the spot. I'm going to give you a moment.
You are putting me on the spot. I think Dr. Remi talking about trust and how important it is for being surrounded by people we trust, trusting ourselves, all of those things are so important. We can't just dive into things without thinking about where we are, who we're with, and how can we align ourselves with the right people, the people we trust.
Thank you. You did beautifully. And what I find really interesting from all of our speakers so far is this sense of, it's not just about feeling a sense to serve and doing it, but it's having a plan, building your relationships, trusting, building those networks. So you're not being so vulnerable. So having that trust and knowing what comes next. So thank you for your contribution today.
Thank you.
All right, we're nearly there for my session. Honestly, you women are incredible. We have Dr. Adama Kalokoh joining us. She is another powerhouse, Global Goodwill Ambassador, Foundations, founder, Impact Sierra Leone, advocate, motivational speaker, women empowerment leader. Honestly, could it get much more important and valuable? I know this speech is going to be good as well because we've been exchanging some comments. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This has just been so inspiring and empowering just the whole week. And I want to go ahead and take this time to wish each and every woman happy International Women's Day. This and every day is ours because we definitely are leaders at the forefront. I am Dr. Adama Kalokoh, founder and director of Impact Sierra Leone. And I want to thank Hazel Herrington and Hazel Herrington Worldwide. I thank you for the honor for including me in this space. I have learned so much from all of these beautiful women, and we have contributed so much to one another and poured into each other, and it's going to continue. And so I just want to just thank you as I begin. I get a chance to take you guys on a journey. And I have so much excitement because I get to talk about the importance of your voice. And if anyone can be an example of how using your voice can take you to reaching your greatest potential, I would probably be first in line. You're looking at someone who is coming from a shy space, a descendant of Sierra Leone who never liked to be at the forefront, always wanted to be in the background. But for some reason, when I opened my mouth, my passion, my purpose, and everything else took place and gave birth. So tonight, I just want to take you on a little journey of how it led me even to being a campaign manager and being in the political space, just from opening and using my voice to be a change. I want to start with a quote, and I shared this quote today. It's called A Woman. It is a quote by Melinda Gates. A woman with a voice is by definition a strong woman, but the search to find that voice can be remarkably difficult. It could be a lifelong journey. And so I want to just say that there is a power in using your voice, a power in using our voices collectively to take us to the next level, to bring us to the table so that we can be at the decision-making process, you know. And it's this voice that we use that can break down barriers in leadership. But the one thing that we must do is we have our voice, we need to raise that voice to the next level of action. Okay, so I want to share some really meaningful people, women leaders that have played a major role in my life, that use their voices. The voices that came from Harriet Tubman, who led the Underground Railroad. The voice from Mother Teresa, who used her platform, her heart, to be a humanitarian, to serve so many selflessly. The voice of Fannie Lou Hamer, who relentlessly fought for the rights of Mississippi voters. She used her voice to make that change. The voice of Rosa Parks that said, enough is enough. She ignited a whole boycott, a whole movement that we will never forget. The voice of Umu Sangare. This is an international singer in Mali. And she used her music to transform to a lot of the women that were in a male-dominated society, to empower them, to let them know that they too matter, their voices matter, and that their voices should be heard. The voice of Miriam Makeba, one of my favorite. She used her platform to ignite and to make changes come within the apartheid in South Africa. And the voice of a woman who is one of my favorite poets, and Dr. Remi shared about her. You know, her voice was silenced when she was a child because of rape. And when that silence was broken, none other than Maya Angelou gave birth to so many poems. And because of her gift, I can declare that still I rise. If you see a lot of my posts, you know that that is a part of me that takes me. And I think many of the political leaders, especially our women leaders, you will definitely agree with me. There are many times where you fall, you think this is it, but you have to have that inner voice that tells you, get up, do it, you can rise again. And so as I share about these women, all of the things that they have in common is that they raise their voices to break down barriers. So I want to ask, and I want everyone to be thinking about that. How are you using your voice to break down barriers as a leader, as a global leader? Using your voice can push you to your greatest potential. So I'm going to go and I want to start and give you a few statistics that's just kind of talking about the percentages of women in political leadership. Women are 51% of the population in the US, but they make up only 27% of Congress at large, 24% of the US Senate, 27% of the House of Representatives, 0% of presidents of the United States, but that will change, that change will come. 30% of statewide elected executives, 25% of mayors in cities, and I can go on and on. As you hear these statistics, one thing is for sure is that while we have come a long way, we have a long way to go. But that cannot be done in silence. It must be done in raising our voices, using our voices to go and push those platforms, push those messages, and to be active in the community, to be at the table, to change the world. I wanted to give you 3 areas briefly that I have used my voice and that has propelled me into just thinking about how important using your voice. I traveled to Sierra Leone in 2003 for the first time. And what I thought was just a journey to discover my roots. It actually turned into a journey that discovered my passion, my purpose, and my destiny. And fast forward, it launched and allowed me to launch my organization, Impact Sierra Leone. And I want to give you a glimpse that, you know, everyone has a why. Everyone has a journey and a story about why and how they came to be doing what they're doing. And for me, it is my father, James I. Conte, who was born and raised in Sierra Leone and passed away in '97. And while it was tragic, I turned that tragedy into a triumph because he led me to really fall in love with Sierra Leone as a descendant, not being born there, but from that point on, after his death, I made Sierra Leone my own, and not knowing it would take me through so many different journeys and reaching my potential. And so in going there, I saw the needs, but I did not come back and have pictures and just look at them and say, wow, it's so good to go to Africa. I used my platform on social media to tell the stories of the people. I used my platform to share the journey and just to let people know that there's more to be done. There's a lot to be done here, but as a descendant, I had a fundamental responsibility to be a voice for the voiceless that were in Africa. And so in 2019, I finally launched Impact Sierra Leone. And through that, I have been able to empower so many people that are going through socioeconomic issues, especially the women. I put myself in the shoes of so many of the girls because my mom never migrated to the United States. I would be a young Sierra Leone girl. So I take it very, very, very serious to heart to put myself in their shoes. And so today, you know, it's a journey, but by God's grace, we are still pushing, and we've been able to do a lot of the sustainable development promotion. We have launched a farm. Agriculture, be pushing agriculture in the village areas. And I have recently adopted a village this year. And through that, we are pushing gender equality with the young girls. We are, you know, we're about to launch a farm with the women, and they are so excited. And sometimes there's language barriers, but they receive me. They accept me, and again, using my voice to be their voice on my platforms, on LinkedIn, on social media. I tell you, when you do that, the doors that open to lead me to Hazel Herrington, just from telling my story. You know, there is a value in telling your story. And so I wanted to also talk about not only was I able to embrace and lead my own NGO, I fell in love with empowering other Sierra Leoneans. And that led me to becoming a campaign manager for Sia Fino, who is running for Prince George's County Council. And being a campaign manager, it has been an empowering experience. And so I hear a lot of what all of the individuals have spoken, just the day-to-day grind as a woman, the journey that you have to go is so much more challenges that are involved. But I know that I've probably hit my time. I'm just really passionate about just, if anyone that can leave with anything today, just think about how you're using your voice to make a change. How are you using your voice to break barriers right in your own community? And if you know you're not, you know, use your voice to network, use your voice to vote. This is a voting season. Use your voice to inspire future generation of leaders. It is not just today, but think about your children, your children's children, you know. So as I end, I want to go ahead and leave you with my favorite quote. United we stand, together we rise, because it is definitely a true statement that together, our voices together, we can break barriers and make so much happen more in the world. So thank you so much again for this time. Thank you for everyone listening. And again, I'm all on social media, on LinkedIn. I am on Instagram and Facebook, and you also can be able to find me at www.impactsierraleone.org. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. So you women just smashed your presentations, and I don't know about Hazel, but I just feel like I want to keep talking and I want to listen more and I want to have more conversations, and I know we can't. Hazel, have you got a question to go straight up?
Yeah, Dr. Dharma, you know, I had to fight back the tears because this session has just been so powerful. You talked about using our voices. And what I love about every woman that has spoken today is that we've got diverse voices. And Herrington Publications Worldwide is about diversity and inclusion, because we need to hear different voices. We've got Sarah's voice speaking today. We've got your voice. We had Linda. We had Angela's voice. And everybody's voice is different. You know, we've got encouraging voices, we've got powerful voices, we've got confident voices. And so thank you so much for coming today and talking about us using our voices. And I love the work that you're doing in Africa. And I'd love to see you empowering youth, you know, women's voices, the girl child's voice, especially with this topic. And, you know, you mentioned Miriam Makeba. Do you know that I'm actually working with a foundation? I'm actually working on a book. So I want to introduce you. And maybe we can work together on the foundation. Yes.
Oh,
Isn't it a small world? Yeah.
Her music has gotten me through a lot. Her music is so powerful.
Oh, yes. And she's been on Time Magazine. She's an icon. So let's work together on that project, and we'll talk about it after. And there you have it, the power of collaboration, networking. Sarah, the platform is yours.
Look at that magic happening already. And that's one of the things that I want you all to take from today and yesterday, that these connections, these relationships, these inspiring women, connect with them, support them, uplift them, because change will only happen when we lean into it. Adama, the question I have for you, a lot of women feel silenced for lots of different reasons, and it can be uncomfortable, and it can often leave them wondering, what do we do with this? Have you got a tip, one tip for a woman who doesn't know what to do when she's silenced?
Well, there's a power network. I think Angela mentioned about having that surrounding of network of people. It is a reality for a lot of people. I think that if you're in an unsafe unsafe place, there's different churches, you know, those kind of like safe environment where they could be protected. I think that sometimes it could be that one friend. For me, I've had that one. You don't need a whole army. Sometimes you just could use that one or two strong mentors or people, not even just to, you know, be a doctor or be a you know, like a psychiatrist, but just someone to listen. Sometimes it's just that listening ear. Like I said, the voice is powerful. And so, you know, we have to be able to create those spaces, those safe spaces for one another, especially with the last couple of years that we have endured. There's a lot of people that are suffering in silence, and they should not be. And so, you know, if there's anything, there's a lot of professional help with, you know, like, I think that gone are the days that going to a therapist is a taboo. If you need a listening ear, I'm a firm believer that, you know, if there's a professional help that you need in that space, you should take advantage of it. But if it's an environment where there's just an unsafe territory, I would say try to, you know, look for the safest opportunity, and it doesn't have to be an army.
Thank you so much for that. And I think that's really valuable points for everyone to listen to. We are done in this session. It has been an absolute honor to listen to you all. I actually feel quite emotional about the stories that you've all shared. One of the themes that has stood out for me when you've all been talking about leadership and power is that it's not enough to talk about this. What I'm hearing from all of you is that what we need from our women and from everyone is really to take that and turn it into action. So I hope that you're all inspired today to take your voice, to take your thoughts and your mindset and that inspiration and turn it into action. Hazel, the floor is yours, and I really look forward to the next session. What a privilege. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was a phenomenal session. And I just want to share more about Sarah. Sarah brings over 25 years of professional experience delivering conflict intervention, education, and mediation services across Australia and internationally. She's also a multiple award-winning entrepreneur. She's been nominated for the International Business Innovator of the Year 2019 and won that award. She's also an ambassador for Think Network and Mediate Guru. She also has worked with the following clients: the World Bank, BHP, Australian Federal Police, the Defence Force, land councils, and national, state, and local government. And I'm proud to call her my friend and business associate. Sarah, well done. Thank you so much for running the session.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I really can't wait for more.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. We're going to take a break and then start the next session with Erika, our next moderator.
Welcome to the second session of Lady Political Power Global Leadership Conference. I am Coach Erika Love, and I have some fabulous speakers in my session. First, I have Leeza Steindorf, Khomotso Mashalane, Dr. Satnam Deuchakar, and Nadene Joy. What you're going to experience in this session will blow you away. And if you have not gotten a chance to, if you're just joining us, please do go back and take a look at the previous session, because I must say that I was simply blown away. There were times that I was drawn to tears. There were times that I was ready to jump for joy. But let me bring to the forefront Leeza Steindorf. She is Forbes Council Executive Coach, and she is going to share her journey with us. Welcome, Leeza. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much, Coach Erika. And thanks. Nice to be here. And firstly, I'd like to share my sincere thanks to Hazel Herrington and Herrington Publications Worldwide, and my appreciation also to Linda Fisk for honoring me with the invitation to this conference. Such inspiring and impactful women who are committed to advancing female leaders. And it is vital that we shift that old paradigm and advance women into leadership in governance, business, and social structures. Because where we stand today, we desperately need women to lead for the survival of humanity as we know it, and for the future of our Mother Earth. And if that sounds extreme, I assure you it's actually an understatement. So I'm not speaking today about shattering the glass ceiling ingrained in the system that holds women back. I propose from personal and professional experience that shattering the glass ceiling in the world depends on us shattering it within ourselves. And as an executive coach, I work with CEOs and board chairs, senators, other public leaders, and the women among them with exceptional intelligence and expertise have achieved their positions of influence only through incredible effort and tenacity in the face of immense odds. And given that, one would think that they would recognize their exceptional value, right? And most don't, and for valid reason. The glass ceiling, the belief of women being number two, has been ingrained in women also by our culture, pick a culture, by education and our experiences. And that's why I offer in my corporate program, the Core of Female Leadership, tools that help women recognize their innate value. And from there, we can move easily and with confidence and conviction into leadership positions. And that's what we need in the world, on the public stage, in government, and in society. So I walk a native path, and my Indigenous elders have taught me that women are the givers of life, the protesters of war, and the weavers of connection and community. And without women, we would be nowhere. Women usher life into this world and are often present in ushering it out. And in the face of great odds, we're the ones that hold the container for humanity to laugh and cry, to howl and heal. We encourage and we educate. We govern powerfully, and we love unconditionally. And there's nothing about women or about female leaders that is second best, just the opposite. And statistics prove it. Here's just one example. A Forbes study of First Round Capital's portfolio found that IT businesses founded by women outperformed those founded by men by 63%. 63%. So I want to talk about that. Now, Webster defines the glass ceiling as an intangible barrier within a hierarchy that prevents women or minorities from obtaining upper level positions. And I'd like to start with an example from the animal world. When an elephant is born, it weighs approximately 200 pounds. It's a heck of a baby. And because of its size and its strength, the ones that are in captivity are kept from running off or destroying things by being attached to a very heavy chain to one foot, and the chain is connected to a thick iron post cemented deeply in the ground. And the elephant is unable to move farther than the circumference that chain allows. And as the elephant grows in size, all that is needed later as an adult is to keep it in place with a thin rope attached to a wooden peg. So imagine an average adult elephant weighs about 12,000 pounds. That would be like holding us in place with a spool of thread attached to a chopstick. But it does hold them in place despite their immense physical power. And why? Because they've come to know themselves and their place in the world as only being able to go so far. They only move as far as the original restrictions imposed upon them allowed them to, even though they're clearly able to do vastly more, but they don't know that. And that's how control and dominance operate. So here's why this subject is one that I'm speaking about today. My father was an Air Force officer and a pilot in Vietnam. He was a man of incredibly high integrity and values and deeply traumatized by war. His plane was shot down and his co-pilot killed. And he came home alive, yet he brought his severe PTSD, trauma, rage, and violence home with him. Now we have that label. But back then, they had no name for that devastation. And as a little person, just learning who I was and about self-esteem, it was a very painful and fearful world. And my dad's wounds taught me to believe that I was less than worthy, that I didn't know what I was talking about, and that I should not speak because I was only a girl. And I had zero self-esteem. I was terrified of speaking my mind. And that I'm even speaking to you tonight is not only a miracle, but it's proof that what I'm sharing actually works. So that's why I'm addressing the glass ceiling that we have internalized as women. Now, if you think about it, each time you walk into a meeting and doubt whether you really belong there, every presentation you give that you judge is not good enough, or anytime you initiate a project or business and you don't have the conviction that you have everything you need to bring it to fruition, you're operating under your own glass ceiling. And there's no blame in that. We grew up in the same system that holds us back. Yet we do have responsibility, each and every one of us, to shatter it first within ourselves, both emotionally and practically, so that we can then demand it be shattered in the world out there. When you feel your worth deeply and without any doubt of being good enough, you access a power that no one can take away from you. And as you lift yourself up with that power, you lift others up as well. So I was committed to finding tools to help me dismantle my self-doubt and my unworthiness. And I'd like to share just 3 of them with you. And since I love alliterations and they also help us remember things, I'm going to offer them to you as face, flip, and focus. So first of all, become a student of yourself, which means make yourself the content of your study. Get to know and even love yourself. Commit to being mindful with moment-to-moment awareness of how do you currently think about yourself? How do you speak to yourself and see your place in things? And face that reality first. And when you face what is, then you can flip. So usually we collect all the bits of why we believe we're not good enough, the mistakes we make or the weaknesses we think we have, and we use those beliefs to hold ourselves back. Well, flip that. Practice gathering evidence about the good in yourself and your worthiness. Why do you personally admire who you are? And write that down. In what way do you contribute to others and to the betterment of this world? And write that down. And how would this world, your relationships, suffer if you were not in them? And be specific and write it down. Because seeing yourself as worthy of whatever you aspire to is essential to attaining it. And when you've flipped that view of yourself, then all you need to do is focus. So no matter what you've heard, multitasking is an illusion. The brain is binary. It's either on or off, and it can do one thing at a time, but not 2. So when you imagine you're multitasking, it's because the brilliance of the human brain functions and you're toggling at lightning speed between multiple points of attention.
Leeza,
Yes.
as you come to a close here today, what is the #1 thing that women need to do in order to activate this power within them?
And that is to focus exactly that, focus on the value that they have within themselves. Because when they do that, the world outside of them is going to change. And my experience is that, and I was able to do that. I sat with my father who looked at me, and when I expressed to him exactly what I've shared with you all tonight, he looked at me and he said, I wish I had had the courage to see the world that way. And that's the day that not only he began to forgive himself, but he created a relationship with myself, and my internal glass ceiling shattered. That's how valuable and important it is that we recognize our value so we can go into the world and govern and take the positions of leadership.
That was extremely powerful, Leeza. Hazel, do you have a question that you would like to ask her?
Yes, Leeza, you touched on something so powerful, and Dr. Remi also touched on it, the importance of family, and also how you brought up, you know, from when you're young. Would you say that things have changed from, you know, the 60s, the 40s? Because in those days, women stayed at home, and now women are working. So the perception was that women stay at home. And here we're talking about cultural barriers. So do you think that cultural barriers still exist even in developed countries?
Absolutely. Absolutely, they exist. And they have changed. You asked if they've changed drastically. I mean, it was at the beginning of the 20th century, women didn't have ownership of their children. And I think it was in the 1970s first that they even were able to own their own credit cards. And I can't remember what the date was of when we achieved the vote in the United States of America anyway. So yes, things have drastically changed. And now we are at a place where those limitations that we've carried within ourselves, when those are gone, the entire paradigm is going to shift. We're going, bless International Women's Day, but we're going to get to a point where we're not going to need a specific day to recognize the value of women in the world.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. And at this moment, I must thank Hazel Herrington and Hazel Herrington Publications for bringing us here today and providing this wonderful platform for women such as Leeza to share their thoughts and their message with us. Can you tell us where to find you, Leeza?
Absolutely. So you can look at the website is corefemaleleadership.com. You can find me there, and I'd welcome interactions. Any kind of connection would be wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing your powerful message of breaking the glass ceiling from within. It is very exciting to know that you have overcome such a powerful personal story. So if you can do that, obviously we can find the light inside of us as well. Our next speaker is Khomotso Mashalane, and she is a success and empowerment consultant. This particular connection is going to be a little different because her experience is so deep and so dynamic that we're going to do an interview style because it is the best way to bring out the things that she is seeing affect politics in her everyday journey. Welcome, Khomotso.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad to be here, and I would like to thank Harriet, Hazel, for this amazing opportunity. And I would like to congratulate you, really, Hazel, because throughout the planning of this conference, I've noticed such an amazing and meticulous culture of work that you have. And all your events and interactions have so much character, and I'm so impressed. And the women that I've interacted with already have empowered me. It's a great opportunity for me, and I thank you all.
Thank you. During our conversation the other day, you shared something that gripped my heart. You shared that even to ask a woman to participate in politics in your country is asking her to risk her life. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, I'll tell you more about it. There's a lot. I'll try to summarize. The reason why I chose socioeconomic factors is because, I've been reading a lot about other politics of other countries the past 4 weeks. I mean, I'm impressed by the Nordic countries, all the United Nations statistics and all that. But I think it will be very unfair. It just hit me the past 3 days. It hit me, And I realized that it will be very unfair if I speak about all those nice things like Nordic countries and all those countries and not raise the issues in my country, issues of survival, like that women are facing more than, normal barriers that we're talking about. We facing, and I'm saying we because I'm speaking on behalf of all the women. It's just a high rate of things like rape. There's a culture of killing, assault, violence against women. And I told you, Erika, the other day that when I pray every day, the one thing I must never forget is to pray to God that God, let me not be in the statistics today. Can my daughter not be raped? Can my friend not be raped? But what is worse is when you pray that I hope there's no other women amongst my friends who's raped and has decided to be silent about it. I don't want to dwell on those things. I don't want to, to be a party pooper, but I have to raise these things because these things are about survival. So, I mean, imagine a woman who's going through that, aspiring to be a politician. I can't reconcile that because it's a survival issue. When you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you have to look at the needs of survival, your life. You can be killed anytime. I mean, those are realities. That is why I decided to address socioeconomic issues. Socially, I mean, there's assault, there's violence against women. Women are killed outside their homes. You can be killed in your own home, either by perpetrators, like criminals who just come into your house. Some are killed by their own husbands or partners in the house. When are you going to think about politics or, those aspirations? It's a bit far-fetched, it's a luxury, of some sort. And I know that there are politicians in our country, lady politicians, but I believe that this whole reality affects how the impact, the policies within, the political landscape, because you're not just there for numbers, you're there for making a difference, an impactful difference, to make decisions and represent, your country politically, even internationally. But, those limitations go with you. Those are, the things. I mean, it's violence, it's crime, it's killings, it's rape, it's a culture, it's normal, it's normalized. And it's like nobody's protecting women. But I don't want to dwell on that today. It's a topic for another day because I want us to also address the economic issues or economic limitations because I don't want to run out of time.
Well, what you have done is remarkable. You have begun to partner with women so that they have what they need in order to get beyond the cultural barriers. You are teaching them how to get income from their talents and passions. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, what I try to do actually is just to organize events where, as women, we try to help other women. Like, what I've noticed is that the power that women have when they're together, it's amazing. Women need to gravitate towards one another more and more each day. I mean, globally, not only in South Africa. Just to share the skills or at least educate other women who are not educated, because the economic factors that I want to talk about are money, they are unemployment, but the women here are very intelligent and they're very skilled. So you need, those who are educated can, what we do is to meet with these women and show them how they can monetize or find a way of presenting those skills that they have in order for them to make money, because some women don't have money, but or they don't really make a lot of money, but they are great winners, and at the same time they're financially abused by men still. Like sometimes it's verbal abuse, it's physical abuse, financial abuse. You still have to take care of the kids and make sure that they've eaten. And some of them go to bed hungry. So how are you going to participate, even if maybe you try to position yourself there, it's a problem. And another problem is education. If you are not educated, you will not be able to participate politically, because I believe that your education is going to be your own expression in the political landscape. So if you're not educated, you are not going to be empowered. I mean, all these things make women to be vulnerable. We're talking about being weakened, being disempowered. You don't really have a voice. I mean, they say be strong. In South Africa, they only say be strong, but sometimes I feel like it's difficult to be strong. I mean, why should you always be strong? As a woman, sometimes I want to be weak, and it's my right. But we have to be strong because of all this, all these challenges which are unique.
I want to help the women really understand why you are focusing on this area of education and that the woman may be oppressed within the home, because in your country, it is very common for a woman to marry someone who is much older than her. So there is an education gap and an experience gap. Is that correct?
That's correct. Actually, that one is more prevalent in Zimbabwe, of young girls marrying older men. And I remember reading a story recently. There's a young woman who ended up dying because she was pregnant. I mean, imagine if a 9-year-old or 10-year-old is pregnant and eventually dies. So, when people get married, they get married because they love each other or they want to spend the rest of their lives together. But in most African countries, people marry because for economic reasons. Do you understand why I don't want to separate politics from social problems or economic problems? Because they're intertwined. You cannot deal with politics in isolation without mentioning, especially in this country or continent, in Africa in particular, because they are intertwined. One cannot live without the other. We are still, down there. We're still dealing with issues of bread and butter, issues of life and death, while obviously depending from one continent to another. The extent. I mean, we don't even want to deal with other countries like, Bangladesh and all that with their acid, problems. I just want us to focus on Africa, especially South Africa.
Yes. I am gripping my heart at the concerns that you are sharing me with. And I know there are women and people in general who are watching this who will want to help. Can you tell us the key thing that women or people who want to support you will need to do in order to help make a change?
Well, I'm raising this. So it means, first of all, they need to contact me. I will give you my contact details later. But what needs to happen is that the world, let me just say the global community of women, need to incorporate all these women or representatives of women from these underprivileged countries or underdeveloping countries and bring them into the global community, so that they are helped to participate economically, to have skills. Most of them have skills, they're intelligent, they're very hardworking, they're gifted. But just to make sure that, those gifts can be used or be monetized so that they'll be able to take care of themselves economically. Then in 3 or 4 years' time, maybe we'll be talking about now really positioning them for political participation. But right now we are dealing with
That is exceptional. Thank you so much. Can you tell us where we can find you?
I'm on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn using my names, and My email is mamanagedi@gmail.com. I think I can share it with Harriet later. So whoever wants to collaborate, because the most important here is collaboration, networking with women in South Africa, opportunities, creating opportunities for them. We don't need handouts or what. They are hardworking, they're intelligent. They just need, just that partnership and collaboration and being integrated into the global community.
Excellent. Hazel, nowhere in the world have I ever seen such a powerful group of women who have such a in-depth knowledge of politics and how to uplift women. We are at the very edge of our time, but if you have a question, I want to make sure I leave room for that.
Well, I don't have a question for Khomotso, but what I'd like to say is that she's brought up some very important points. The barriers that are existing in developing countries, especially South Africa. I mean, South Africa, their president actually declared that rape is a pandemic in their country. So she's brought up something so important, and that is a barrier for women participating in politics, including poverty, lack of access to education and healthcare. Thank you so much, Khomotso, for bringing this up. Thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you, Khomotso.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our very next speaker has a powerful journey and testimony of her own. At this very moment in time, she is on the front lines of the war in Ukraine. Dr. Satnam Deuchakar, thank you for being with us here today. I am blown away that you have just the wherewithal to do all that you do as the founder and CEO of Deuchakar Group, plus be on the front lines as you are today. Welcome. Okay, it looked like she may be distracted. Like I said, she is on the front line. So what we're going to do is bring up our very next speaker. We have Nadene Joy, and she is phenomenal. She is an executive leadership advisor and CEO of Nadene Joy Consulting. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here. And thank you so much to Hazel and to Publications Worldwide for putting this event together. It's just been absolutely phenomenal listening to these incredible women, their stories, and just so inspirational to hear each and every one of your perspectives here over the last couple of days. So thank you, Hazel, for putting this together. I just wanted to start out by talking about, as women, what are the things that we need to do, as we're in leadership positions, in government roles. And I want to address there's been a few other women tonight who have talked about this, but I want to really address, the fact of our mindset and the ability to discipline ourselves in moving forward and what that looks like as women. How can we really be able to show up in a way that we haven't before and be authentic and vulnerable in sharing our stories and where we're at a real level? Real conversations, to me, is where our world is at, and bringing together community, bringing together groups such as this is extremely powerful. There's a quote that I'm sure many of you heard, but where your heart is, your treasure is also. And this is something that I live by, and I've been focused on this for so long. The Dalai Lama has a quote also that says, a disciplined mind leads to happiness, and an undisciplined mind leads to suffering. So when we have a disciplined mind, when we have a mindset, a positive growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, this is something that can really help propel us forward in an entire new way that maybe we haven't thought about before. I'm going to give you 3 things here as women, what we can do right now, action steps that we can take, because it's great, to talk about all these things, but what are some things that we can actually do starting today, right now, here in this moment, as we leave this conference, this phenomenal forum that Hazel has put together. The first thing I like to say is, commit to yourself, committing to learn all you can do, not only to help yourself to step into your worthiness of all of who you are, but also to empower other people, to serve others, to step into that role as a leader and being a role model to society. The second thing I want to say is consistency. How can we consistently show up as leaders and be somebody not only that has a daily practice, like maybe a mindset practice that we have at the beginning of the day, focusing on reading 30 or 40 pages of a book, or listening to an inspirational speaker or another leader that we really admire. Life is for living, and being consistent allows us to be able to step into all of who we are, and also to be able to give us the permission to release certain people or behaviors from our past that no longer serve us, and be able to step into it in an even greater level. The third thing is community. Again, community such as this, but fostering community, no matter where you live, no matter where you are in the world. How can we foster a greater community and human connectedness as leaders to come together from the heart and have these real, authentic, vulnerable conversations about things that truly matter in our world? So why do we need to do this? So as women, what are the reasons why we would do these kind of things? How do they impact us? So the overt social and economic inequalities more commonly experienced by women include globally across the board, include areas such as lower rates of schooling and unemployment, less pay for similar work, higher levels of stress, higher rates of unpaid work such as caring for relatives or children, exposure to higher rates of sexual assault, intimate partner abuse, and overall gender-based violence, including a lack of misrepresentation in government roles, as well as underrepresentation in leadership positions. So there are, if we look at statistics over the last 10 years, there is and has been an increase in women in these positions, which has been phenomenal to see, but there is still a ways for us to go. We still have ways that we can work on that. And I want to post something here that I've noticed personally amongst leaders, in particular women, and how gender equality actually affects our mental health. So according to a 2020 article, did you know that women with mental health conditions outnumber men by far? In comparison to men, I'm going to give you a few statistics that might shock you, maybe or maybe not. But women are twice as likely to have generalized anxiety disorder, twice as likely to have panic disorder, approximately twice as likely also to develop depression during their lifetime, and 4 to 10 times more likely to have an eating disorder, and more than twice as likely to develop PTSD, and more likely to attempt suicide. When I heard these stats, it was absolutely shocked me to hear that. And according to the Human Rights Careers, there's an increased number in women in leadership roles, as I had just mentioned, and in government organizations. And the benefits of bringing more women into these roles, there's more benefits than I can count. I'm going to give you a few of these today. One of them is an increase in organizations' productivity and innovation through diversity, of bringing more women into these high-level roles. The second is something that I wouldn't have guessed, but is healthier children. And when we take a step back from a higher perspective and look at this, it really makes sense, because when women can make their own reproductive choices, they provide better care for their children, and they also have healthier overall families, and have statistically do better the children that are raised in these environments with inequality as well. It also saves lives, having more women in these roles, and significantly decreases poverty, as well as research shows that gender equality is also linked to peace. And this is something that, again, it really brought it home to me when I was doing the research on this. So even more so than a country's GDP or level of democracy. For example, nations and states with better gender equality are less likely to use military force. And when a country addresses major areas of inequality, such as education and employment, it is proven to foster peace in nations, in communities, in families, and every area across the board. This is something that we need to take note of. Lastly here, the women's impact doesn't stop with individual companies and organizations. There are many studies that have shown that increasing women's participation in the economy is good for the economy overall. In OECD countries, the female employment rates were raised to match, if they were raised to match Sweden, it would lead to a GDP increase equivalent to $6 trillion. Gender pay gaps end up costing the economy a lot of money. So to conclude, how do we want to feel as women moving forward? I want to leave you with a message today of something that I've learned, and it's all about our light and our gifts and what we've been given in this world, and the importance of shining our light brightly, shining our light with no regrets, being unapologetically who we are from the inside out, speaking truth, speaking from the heart, being able to step into those roles that we were called to. As a few speakers had mentioned today, their calling is to be in government roles, into leadership roles. And there's something to be said with shining our light as bright as we can. And there's many times that there are people that will become triggered, especially other women, by our light, by our gifts, by the things that we're doing in the world. And I just want to leave you with this. Your light is a blessing and is not a curse. And those people who are triggered by your light, by your truth, by your voice, those people need to hear what you have to say, because they are being brought to a place that they are now able to heal from their past, from their wounds, from their traumas, from the things that they were too afraid to deal with prior to you coming into their world. So know that your light is a gift. Know that you are here for a reason, and know that there are absolutely no coincidences in life. Shine your light, be yourself, continue to step into all of who you are with no regrets. Thank you so much, Hazel, for this wonderful opportunity. It is just an absolute blessing to be amongst each and every one of you here.
That was absolutely spectacular. I am inspired once again by what you shared earlier today when we spoke. You shared that particular message with me, and I had a burning question. What should women do when someone is threatened by them shining their light?
I love that you asked that question. And this is something that I think most people have dealt with, especially women. And I would say, people who are triggered by that, the best thing we can do as leaders and as people in these, government organizations and running companies around the world is to respond with love, and respond with unconditional love versus hate or revenge or jealousy or any other type of lower vibrational frequencies in our responses. Love is the greatest gift that we have for ourselves and for all others, and has the ability to be able to turn situations around. And again, not only for families, communities, but also for cities and for entire nations. Love right now is light, and light, when we shine our light brightest, the darkness cannot exist. And this is needed right now more than ever. If we unite in love, unite in community, bring together, as somebody mentioned, together we are stronger and together we rise. And this starts with love, loving ourselves, honoring our gifts of who we are first, so we can be that role model and be that change that we want to also see in the world for others.
Excellent. Hazel, do you have anything to add?
Well, I don't have any questions for Nadene. I just want to thank Nadene for bringing up the fact that gender equality affects our mental health. I've actually learned something about that today, because, we're focusing on all these other barriers, structural, cultural, but the reality is that we've got to take care of our health. Thank you so much for touching on that.
Excellent. Nadene, before you go, can you tell us where we can find you?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much on every social media out there, LinkedIn, you can reach out there, or also on just my personal website, just nadenejoy.com. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Hazel, and Hazel Herrington Publications Worldwide. Oh my goodness, that's all I have to say. I'm blown away. I believe Dr. Satnam is here with us now, and once again, she is on the front lines. Hazel, you are pulling us in from every direction, and we just must thank you for all that you've done. Dr. Satnam, how are you today? And earlier I introduced you. You are the founder and CEO of Duychakar Group, and you are on the front lines right now, serving and supporting the mission in Ukraine. Welcome, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Herrington Publications, and thank you, Hazel. Thank you, Erika. Thank you, everyone. I mean, every time I come to a forum like this, it's a celebration for me, meeting these individuals, their experiences, the wealth of knowledge you gain from them, and you see life and real. You see how people in their experiences have grown. What did they do to be where they are? Why are they called world leaders? So I'm so honored to be here today. Thank you, everyone. My apologies, I was a little in and out because we've got some summit here and the president from Ghana is here. So I was trying to bend and put everything together. My apologies. But nevertheless, I was on the speaker, on my headphones, and I was trying to listen to everyone because this is not something you want to miss. Trust me, this is one summit, Hazel puts together where you do not want to miss a minute of it. So thank you. Yeah, I was at the borders. I'm going to be back at the Ukrainian borders. I think probably this time it's going to be Moldova. We came back from Romanian borders. So first of all, like I said, again, I would want to thank Poland and Romania for what a wonderful host they've been. It was not easy the way people, I don't have words to say. I'm so sorry. Like I said, I was a different person before I was there. I've come back to being a different person, coming back to Dubai and seeing things normal, looking so normal. It was just, cannot believe it. It's the same planet, where things are happening and the way things are. And I just couldn't believe, what was the difference? Why was my life so precious? Why is it different? Just because they were born there and things are happening there? How do they have lesser right to life than me? Why? I don't understand. Who's made those laws? Who's done that? Who makes the laws? I don't understand. First time in my life, I felt so helpless. I've been advocating myself as a world leader. What? I was shocked. I was like, oh my goodness, I am nothing, not even a zero, because I cannot even in my full capacity have that courage to save one life, because it's not my control over it. You don't come into these kind of circumstances a lot, but having yourself sitting in that position where all you could do is then just get them food, get them out of those zones, bring them out, get them to the immigration, but not all of them. You can't reach everywhere. I had students, about 20,000 students trapped, and everyone calling us that the embassies are not doing enough. And we had the embassies coordinate with us, telling us, get them to the border or ask them come to the border, then we can assist you. But the borders were like 50 kilometers away and there was no transportation. So all they could do was walk. And walk when places are shelling, the bombing, and then you have to face the Russian soldiers, you have to face the Ukrainian soldiers who don't know who you are, and you cannot justify anything. And what I saw was a massacre. I do not know what to say anymore after that. I'm lost for words, but for humanity, come on, for humanity, this is not how it should have been. Just because they are born there, and they're courageous, they're not pitiful, they're not looking for pity in people in Ukraine, right? I witnessed it. The kids coming out on the streets saying that we'll fight it. The women coming out saying, okay, we're there. So that gave us the strength, and we were like, fine, they are determined. But come on, this is where the politics in real life comes into play. Had we had the power, women had that power to make decisions, I think the history would have been rewritten. It would have not been like this, because a woman has a heart, sometimes, not trying to be gender biased, but men lack that. Because a woman, not only doing her outwardly duties, she's still connected, she's still concerned about the child. She's still concerned about the in-laws, her parents, her siblings, her families, her extended families, and then her societies, everyone. They think about it and they can relate to things. Here, these world leaders, they've played a game. They've played a game, and who was at the altar? These innocent children, women, men. This is where I thought, Hazel, thank you for this forum, where people can gain the awareness, people can understand what it means to be in power and how do you empower people. Now look, who empowered the women in Ukraine? No one did. When it push comes to shove, what do? You have no choice, do or die. So they thought, okay, fine, we're gonna die regardless. Let's fight for our country. Let's fight until, it comes to the point where nothing becomes nothing, but till then we will not leave, we will not give up. So hats off to them. This Women International Day, let's dedicate to those women who actually, unsung women, they're not leaders, they're not famous, they're not known, but they are there to defend, not for themselves, for the whole country. So one moment of silence for all those people there, and one prayer in my heart that please God Almighty, if you're anywhere, please hear them out. Someone needs to help. We can just do what we can. Beyond that, it's just you. So that's all for them. As far as I'm concerned, I never had a normal life. I mean, I don't know how it is to be normal. And even now, I call myself abnormal. I don't care what people say, but I'm mad in passion. I was born at the age of 13. I think I was raised in rural part of India. I was Himachal, top north of India. I was very fortunate to have parents. My mother comes from a rural background. My father was a humanitarian. So it was good upbringing. At the age of 13, I was one of the biggest tycoons there in export because I was very ambitious to work in businesses. By 16, I had a change of mind and I became a nun because I don't know, somehow looking at what my father was doing in that part of the world, all the philanthropy work, the naturopathy, free services he used to offer, plantation he used to talk about, and started, looking after the plantation in that area. And somehow when people ask me, what do you want to be? I used to say Mother Teresa. Even as a child, as a 4-year-old, I always said I want to be a Mother Teresa. But then as I grew, I realized that is not enough, because to change the world, unfortunately, you need power. But again, like I said, being a nun for 9-10 years, living in like temples, gurdwaras, serving laboriously, like 24 hours a day, lost my health. Again, at the age of 26, somehow my mother pulled me back. She got me into marriage. Again, still didn't have a normal life. Got married, lived in maybe 40, 50 countries because that's how we were working. So could never stabilize in one area, one country, could never understand who my people, who my country was. So I was always divided, always, but I had love for everyone. So it didn't matter. God willing, I was fortunate to get opportunity to work with everyone in the world. It was good. So the only thing I thought, like at that time, the way to work it out was if I could not be in one place, at least work with the powerful leaders in the world and see if they could help. So that kind of, pushed me in that zone. And I was very fortunate. Like I said, I worked with all the presidents, most of the presidents, even in Africa, 19 presidents, we're currently working with. The first ladies we're working with in UAE. I was fortunate to join the royal families, working here with them. In UK with the royal house. So in India, where obviously I was born, so I work with the president there as well. So it was good. It was good. And seeing the power, I understood that yes, power is required to make the change, unfortunately. But everyone can't be a leader. Everyone can't be a politician. So what is expected out of a normal individual, ordinary individual? In our own self, I believe every woman is a leader. Think about it, how many roles she displays, how many things she puts together. For me, every woman is actually someone I adore, I respect, I value, and I credit. So I'm dedicated to women empowerment just because of understanding as a woman, what we go through and how brave.
Absolutely. And that's why we invited you here today, because we wanted to hear your story, because the reality is that we are talking about the barriers that women are facing in politics, and violence is still a major problem when it comes to women in politics. So we want to thank you for coming today. Where can people get in touch with you that want to work with you?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. And there you have Dr. Satnam. Thank you so much for coming today. And if you want to get a hold of Dr. Satnam, we'll put her information in the chat. Thank you so much. And we have our next speaker, and she is a powerful, powerful consultant. Dixie, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing wonderful. In my part of the world, it's evening, but you know, time, what is time, right?
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be interviewing Dixie today. She helps multi-million-dollar companies and solopreneurs tap into their inner power. She's also a coach, consultant, fire starter to business. Dixie, welcome. The platform is yours.
Thank you, Hazel. It's such an honor to be with you and with all the women that have already spoken, and especially to speak into what we just heard. You know, if there's any doubt that the structure that we're in is causing harm, I don't think anyone holds any doubt right now after what we just heard. You know, yesterday in the interview, we talked about everything coming down to structure, and it can seem as though when we talk about structure that we're not taking things like what we've heard seriously, and that's simply not the case at all. But everything that we've created so far, we've created out of the existing power structure. And it's easy to say, unfortunately, change takes power. Everything requires power, but it really isn't unfortunate. Power is simply the ability and the energy to do anything. So it's not unfortunate that we need power. What's unfortunate is that we have substituted force for power in our current structure. So we don't think about, you know, my company is return to your power, and it's more of a mission than it is a brand. Because whether I'm working with someone who's leading a huge corporation or someone who's just starting their little baby company, or somebody who's even just wanting to create health or relationships or whatever it is, the creation structure is the same. We don't create sustainably out of force. Anything that's forced is not going to be sustainable. And so we're seeing that lack of sustainability in our existing power structure. So really, in the way that I view things, and honestly, even just how I keep from getting discouraged with what we do see around us, is just understanding that there are really, really 4 things that are going to govern the energy, the action, the outcomes. 4 things that are governing what we're seeing happening in the world, and 4 things that we can leverage to change what's happening in the world. And the first really is structure. You know, structure is just one or more parts that are working together and creating an outcome. So everything that you see, everything that's functioning in the world right now is because of the structure that we have. And this is a structure that was created centuries and centuries ago. It hasn't been reimagined. It hasn't been redesigned. And it was created by men and for men. Violence was part of the structure. As long as we're in that structure, we're going to continue to see violence. And when we understand that it's that structure, everything has a structure, everything's in structure with something else, and that all of us are playing a part in that structure, that it isn't personal, it's not malicious, it's just a continuation of what's already been created. Because a culture or a structure always has integrity. So it's always going to behave the way it was designed to behave. You know, a wheel is going to roll, right? I mean, a brick wall is designed to keep things separate and apart. Everything's going to function the way that it was designed. That structure isn't going to change. Every structure has tension. So even tension creates that need for movement. You know, 2 points that are in tension, just like a rubber band, it's going to create a tendency toward movement. Right now, we're in a lot of tension in our structure. Are we not? We have a lot of tension in our structure. We have a tendency right now for movement because we're stretched so far between what we imagine what we envision, the reality that we want to embody, and what we're seeing in the world right now. We can leverage that tension. That's just one of the principles of creation, is that tension creates a tendency toward movement. We have a tendency right now toward movement. The second is really identity and beliefs. You know, if I work with individuals, organizations, coaching large groups, I always see identity and beliefs reinforcing the old structure constantly. We've heard a lot about beliefs today, some really, really wonderful points about beliefs. But really, beliefs come down to our identity. Who do we believe that we are? The way that I define identity, just working definition, you won't find it in a dictionary, but it's helpful to me to understand that identity of the individual or the collective is really how we understand ourselves, how we experience ourselves and ourselves in the world, and how we express ourselves. The expression that we see in power and politics right now is, of course, extremely masculine. That's the identity that this culture, this global culture, has been in, obviously, for centuries. That identity created the current structure. So when our behavior conforms to the current structure, we're going to continue to get outcomes that reinforce the identity and the beliefs. And it just continues to cycle, doesn't it? We can get a little change, but then that old identity is going to recreate the old structure, recreate the old outcomes, and back we go, trying to gain ground again. Because this current power structure was created from a collective identity and a set of beliefs. And that old identity is always going to be in resistance to a new structure, a new reality. We have to be the change. You know, I know that we've heard it before. We've heard it so much, it's maybe become common, but we really have to be the change. And we heard that today, I think, from a couple of people. I know Leeza brought it up, that it starts here. I have to be the change. You have to be the change. Every single person who really hopes, prays, and works for change has to start by being the change, which means we have to step into a new identity, individually and collectively, before we're going to see a new power structure that supports all people equally in places of power. Finally, we have to understand resistance. So energy, just natural law, energy will always follow the path of least resistance. True, water is going to flow around a rock, a ball is going to roll down the hill. That's the way it works. When there's resistance in the structure, it's going to take a tremendous amount of energy to push through it, right? We keep pushing. But if we try to push, we get stuck or we get pushed back. So when we follow those natural laws, we understand that humans, when they're left to their default setting, so to speak, and most people are out there running on a default setting, will behave according to the structure they're in and the tension, the identity and beliefs that they use to create that structure, and the level of resistance in their path. So how do we co-create structures designed to support an equity of power? I'm going to ask you to begin by doing the hardest thing. Shift the focus away from the problems, not to ignore the problems ever, but to move the focus into what you desire, First, because focus is a pipeline of power and energy. When we put focus on things we do not want, even when the intention is to solve problems, we're actually trapped in structure with the problem. You can't stop pushing that pendulum or it's going to come back, right? So when we are in resistance to what we see as the problem, rather than just focused on what we want to create and everything has to get out of the way, then we're actually reinforcing the status quo. So if we identify as the resistance to status quo, we have to keep our focus on the thing we're resisting. We can't take our focus off it, but we're never free to choose and create something new. We're never free. When we're focused on what we don't want, we can't see opportunities and alignments that would create the end result we desire. And when we're in that energy, we're in the energy of resistance, we can't create because the energy of resistance can't be leveraged to create something new. You're still in the old structure. And then really, because action is simply focus in motion. What we're focused on is what we will move toward. You find when you shift that focus to a shared vision, like what we've heard over these 2 days, you're going to be drawn to create and co-create, my favorite, co-creation, to co-create spaces and structures with people like the women that you met yesterday and today. These are people that are focused on creation regardless of circumstances. You've heard that. You've heard that from everybody that has shared this platform, that they're focused on what they can create in the world. And when they focus on what they create in the world, regardless of circumstances, they're changing the circumstances of people around the world. Changing the focus isn't the only thing it takes. Absolutely not. But it's the first thing. It's the prerequisite to creating something that's actually more than change. It's transformation, a new structure from which there's like no going back. And the actions that we've been asked to take here, this brilliant group of women that have made suggestions and given you action items to take, when we take those actions focused on that shared vision, you know how powerful that's going to be when we have a shared vision and we can notice when something that we're creating is not in alignment, then we have the choice, right? You can't intentionally change something that isn't in conscious space, but when you notice it, you can choose to keep it or choose to change it. We have that power. So for me, I make the choice, and sometimes I fail to make the choice and have to come back into choice to create from the energy of truth and power, fierce desire, a love for what can be and what will be. Because I know I'm not the resistance, I'm the change.
Wow.
Thank you, Hazel.
Well, thank you so much, Dixie. I mean, that was just so inspirational. I just loved your talk. And I have a question for you. Are you the last speaker? And I think this question is a powerful question to end the conference. My question is, according to the World Economic Forum, it will take 217 years to achieve gender parity in politics at the current rate of progress. How can we alleviate this problem?
That last piece is the important part, Hazel. At the current rate of progress. The current rate is not satisfactory, is it? It isn't. So the real question is not how fast can we change things? It's how fast can each of us transform ourselves individually and collectively, because that will change things. We have this idea in creation that you change the circumstances in order to change the experience. Creation actually works the other way around. You change the experience of enough people and the circumstances have to change to align. That's our job. Everybody that has spoken about reaching young people and reaching people that are not allowed to have a voice. They have a voice. They're not allowed to share their voice. We change their experience. The circumstances in the world have to conform. So we have to focus on these groups of what I think of as imaginal cells. If you're familiar with how the butterfly comes out of the chrysalis, from that state of goo, of imaginal cells that are reimagining and redesigning the very structure of the creature within, we all have to be those pockets of imaginal cells, and we have to speed up our own transformation if we want to speed up the transformation of the world.
Wow, thank you so much, Dixie. It was such a pleasure having you speak today. And I'd like to thank all the other ladies and the amazing keynote speakers, panelists that spoke during these 2 days. It has been a pleasure having you. We've come to the end of the Lady Political Power Leadership Conference. We hope that you've taken some nuggets from each speaker, and we look forward to seeing you next time for our next event with Herrington Publications Worldwide. And some takeaways that we received today is that united, we can overcome some of these barriers. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.